Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Yang berhormat Dato' Haji Yaakob Khan, Minister of Science, Technology and Innovation Sabah. Yang berbahagia Profesor Dato' Kemis Teknologis Dr. Taufik Yap Yuen Hin, Vice Chancellor Universiti Malaysia Sabah. Yang berbahagia Associate Profesor Teknologis Dr. Ramza Dambul, Deputy Vice Chancellor to Research Innovation Universiti Malaysia Sabah. Professor Dr. Helen Benedict Lesimbang, Director of UMS Hospital, and also first keynote address for the UMS CoFA2020, the Deans, Directors, and main UMS officers, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good afternoon. Today, I will address my speech on title Community-Based Ecotourism and Social Innovation for Rural Communities Development in Sabah. For Malaysia, the growth rate of tourism sector in 2019 is being significant and impressed before the impact of COVID-19 pandemic spread globally and the implementation of MCO by the Malaysian government since March 2020 until nowadays. For example, in 2017, the number of tourist arrival in Malaysia were more than 25 million and a total expenditure is 82.1 billion ringgit Malaysia. The number of tourist arrival in 2018, however, has decreased a little bit by 25 million with a total expenditure about 84 billion ringgit Malaysia. This means the Malaysian government realized that the tourism industry is a major economic contributor and major source of foreign exchange earning. It is well known that one of Malaysia's greatest strengths as an attractive tourist destination is rural tourism or community-based tourism. This rural tourism or community-based tourism product are also being called as ecotourism, nature tourism, homestay program, agrotourism, cultural and heritage-based tourism. This diversity of rural tourism products has a major role in enhancing the development of rural community in Malaysia and in Sabah through local communities' participation is considered as one of the main features of sustainable ecotourism development. The Malaysian government has endorsed the National Ecotourism Development Plan since 1996. Therefore, through a community empowerment framework, that ecotourism ventures should emphasize the importance of local communities' participation and having control over sharing the benefits of, as well as empower them in terms of social, economic, psychological, and political aspects. In relation, therefore, the community-based tourism or community-based ecotourism is regarded as a potential development tool for rural community development in Sabah and Malaysia if cooperation and partnership but the tourism stakeholders exist, particularly through social innovation initiatives. So, what is community-based tourism? In Malaysia or Sabah, the term of community-based tourism gained momentum throughout the year 1990s until recently. The main aim community-based tourism is to develop and enhance potential real socio-economic benefits for rural communities through income generated and new jobs opportunity through the traditional culture, preservation, and commercialization, through flora and fauna conservation in order to enhance quality of rural community life. Many of community-based tourism projects in Malaysia or Sabah are based on homestay program and lodge entrepreneurship, which are fully managed by the local communities in the rural tourism areas. This picture shows that the traditional culture activity at Pinanggon Baru Village Homestay in Kilu, Tuaran Sabah. As we can see, the foreign tourists enjoy much in the traditional culture activities in this homestay. Therefore, APEC Tourism Working Group in 2010 has defined community-based tourism as generally small-scale and involve interactions between visitors and host community, particularly suited to rural and regional areas. Community-based tourism is commonly understood to be managed and owned by community for community. Community-based tourism is a type of sustainable tourism that promotes pro-poor strategies in a community setting. The fundamental element associated with community-based tourism is community participation and development-related issues in rural tourism development. Here, another example where CBT through Takinabo Homestay program in Kota Belud, Sabah, where it showed to us the local community involved much in this kind of CBT. The main product for Takinambur Homestay program is a whitewater rafting activity. It was supported by many visitors came to this homestay. Social innovation for community-based tourism development context. Here, I would like to discuss how social innovation for community-based tourism development could impact their progress and growth. There is an increasingly important role of the social innovation in tourism research. In community-based tourism development context, social innovation can be viewed as a process of collaborative innovation where the innovation process benefits from networks, cooperation, and co-productions, facilitated by new developments in IT or as a social outcome, which change social interactions and practices such as via new hospitality or economic practices. The outcome of social innovation are first, changing social interaction and practices, and second, contributing to the social development of communities. According to the economic tourism scholars, new business models need to be based on knowledge in order to achieve further successful development. It is necessary to connect individuals, tourism organizations, such as in community-based tourism case, both for profit and NGO, networks, or platform, which connect people, ideas, and resources. To some extent, however, the increasing cases of COVID-19 since April 2020, then the implementation of 4 Pieces movement control order have impact negatively tourism industry in Malaysia. For example, all 3 major airlines, namely Air Asia, Malindo Air, and Malaysia Airline System, are faced drastic loss of revenue and profit, which has resulted in high risk of bankruptcy. No wonder they asked Malaysia government to step in to provide support to the airline industry. The outbreak of COVID-19 during the period of 11 January 2020 until 16 March 2020, for example, a total of 1,070 room booking had been cancelled, which caused a loss of revenue amounting to 68 million ringgit. Sabah has suffered a loss of more than 11 million ringgit Malaysia in revenue regards to the hotel cancellation of hotel booking. The local hotel and hospitality sector in Malaysia is projected to lose 3.3 billion ringgit Malaysia in revenue since June 2020, and these revenue losses are increased as a result of MCO extended until today. Therefore, to overcome this severely negative impact of COVID-19, the Malaysian government has produced stimulus package as a short-term solution to those in tourism industry, such as providing the tax incentives, restructuring of loans, and postponement of repayments to banks, and etc. For the long-term solution, however, the most suitable to boost growth and progress tourism industry, including community-based tourism sector in Sabah or Malaysia, post-COVID-19 outbreak is through social innovations and social entrepreneurship as bottom-up and stakeholders collaborative approach. Social innovation through the stakeholders collaborative approach, and I would suggest as a solution for Sabah community-based tourism growth and progress in the period of post-COVID-19 pandemic. How this stakeholder collaborative approach as a solution for Sabah CBT. growth and progress. The idea and concept of this collaborative approach is shown in Table 1. Table 1 is about value added for element for stakeholders collaborative approach. The entity of stakeholders in this Table 1 are tourist, community, profit organization, and non-profit sectors and government-related agencies. It is common for tourists, their value proposition when they visit certain tourist destinations are about cognition of locals' life background and leisure. The working model based on outdated processes is nature landscapes to enjoy travel experience and hospitality. But for the post-industry business model or solution, or what we call here social innovation initiative PACE, the tourist expectation is about low carbon tourism and hospitality. For the community entity, in this stakeholder approach, in this stakeholder collaborative approach, their value proposition is bridging social divides, gain equal life standards, and gain quality of infrastructures. Working model based on outdated processes is tourism industry, community interactions, public transportation, traditional education, and traditional culture. But for post-industrial businesses model solution or social innovation initiative is how senior citizen re-employment, life after retirement, healthy community characteristic education system, and culture inheritance. Another stakeholder entity is profit organization. Their common value proposition is social capital, lower taxes for creation of new workplaces, and profit. Working model based on outdated processes is cost revenue, but for post-industrial business model solution, it will emphasize on human capital, corporate social responsibility, and long-term making profits. Another entity of stakeholder is non-profit sector. Their main value proposition is social capital, revenue from public sources, revenue from sales and goods, and services and donations. Their working model based on outdated processes is knowledge transfer. But for the post-industrial business model solution or social innovation initiative, it will emphasize internet platforms, social entrepreneurship, and social enterprises. And the final stakeholders entity is government-related agency. Their value proposition commonly compliance, taxes, higher rate of employment, GDP growth through working model based on outdated processes is political system, economic politics, But for the post-industrial business model solution or social innovation initiative phase, they must consider to emphasize on economic development, tax revenue, natural landscape protections. Therefore, Table 1 has demonstrated that in the new post-industrial business model, including community-based tourism sector, where the stakeholders' collaborative approach as a social innovation is in the community, which are built on social entrepreneurship, internet technologies, environmental protection, sustainable tax policies, intellectual capital, charity, and education. Therefore, through this value added for stakeholders, the stakeholders themselves will be satisfied with the community-based tourism development project or program sustainably. Now we come to the phase of my speech is about lesson learned from two socio-economically oriented innovative projects were developed in rural areas in Gambia and Tanzania. Case study 1. I will explain briefly where the Gambian project as said include 80 members from tourist, private, middle, small, and macro businesses, skill centers, community-based tourism, cultural and entertainment and fashion, and textile retailing sectors. In this case, they wish to provide a collaborative marketing action between all stakeholders. Case study 2 shown that Sokoine University program was designed in Tanzania with the aim of transferring knowledge between universities, local firms, banks, government agency, and donor agency. A collaborative framework was implemented on all stakeholders around a wildlife tourism product. The goal of the university was to transfer innovation knowledge in this tourism product. On the other hand, lesson also learned from European Union Social Innovation Initiative. The European Union has recognized the importance of social innovation to achieve smart, sustainable, and inclusive growth for Europe 2020 through its 7 flagship initiatives. These are TEPC, the theoretical, empirical, and policy foundation for building social innovation in Europe. CRESS, creating economic space for social innovation. SIMPACT, boosting the impact of social innovation in Europe through economic underpinning. ITSOIN, impact of the third sector as social innovation. SI Drive, social innovation, driving force of social change. Then come into my mind, across to my mind, whether we are ready for this kind of social innovation initiative. As we know, in future, this social innovation initiative is very important for Sabah and Malaysia tourism development. The report by Italy 2070 on the Calabrian's Smart DMO project regarding social innovation in tourism stated that an online platform aimed at providing a new tourist after promoting it via the internet and social media, enhancing it according to the visitor's need and verifying its appeal by monitoring and assessing the result achieved. It allows the innovative cooperation among tour operators, residents, and destination management organizations in Calabria, Italy. It is enabled for improving the offer, increasing recognition of the local tourist attractiveness, as well as generating benefits for all stakeholders involved, community of professionals which can exchange information offline and online with potential tourists. Ladies and gentlemen, from the above discussion, I would like to conclude that technological innovation have implications for new social relations and may lead to new social practices for community-based tourism, development, and progress in Sabah. There is a need for an increased focus on community governance and collaborative innovation at the community level. The importance of social innovation is different and varies depending on the level of socio-economic development of tourism destination areas. In more rural destinations, they are more oriented in social solutions and missions. Thus, it can be concluded that social solutions in tourism, including community-based tourism case, are transferring the social innovation knowledge and providing products, services, and solutions to the need of the tourists and community stakeholders. In so doing, I wish that community-based tourism development in Sabah will gain their progress and growth according to what motto for Sabah government is Sabah Maju Jaya in future. Thank you so much for listening and your kind observes my presentation.